This podcast is a Radio Mike original production. Head to radiomike.com.au to find out more. This episode of 20th Century Boy is brought to you by Radio Mike on Patreon and the TCB Overflow podcast. If you finish 20th Century Boy and you want to hear more from me, head to patreon.com/Radio Mike, and for as little as $1 a month, get the Overflow podcast, an extra podcast every single week. And the Pat and Mike Show, where producer Pat and I talk everything behind the scenes of 20th Century Boy. The Patreon is overflowing with content. We'll see you there. Hey guys, it's Mike here. I actually wanted to do kind of like a little bonus podcasty kind of thing today, just in celebration of the podcast, because I realized I got out my old laptop, and it's the laptop that I was using kind of when this podcast originally started, in 2019. So all, and I mean all of every show, every segment opener that we've ever had on the show is on this computer. And I was just like, oh, I should revisit these, because it's been 4 years of the show. We have had so many segments on this show. It'd be really interesting, super interesting to just dig these openers up and just sort of, suss them all out. Listen to them and be like, oh, what was this one? What was this one? What was this? So what I've done is I've just got all the show openers, because a lot of the show openers have stories behind them that don't get told. Basically, I'm just going to do this in alphabetical order, and I'm just going to play them and just talk about the segments and just discuss them and just review the segment openers for every single segment that has ever been on 20th Century Boy, just as a little bit of, a cheeky little bonus thing for you that I thought would be a little bit of fun to do. So the first one, alphabetically, technically, is the 1-800-438-353 jingle, which is still quite a mainstay on the show. Let's take a listen to it.
If you've got a contribution to the podcast, there's only one number you see. Go 1-800-438-353.
Yeah, now that's a great one, and that was actually made and produced, and I didn't have anything to do with that, but it was Patrio Alex Sky and Patrio Scooter, two of the Patreon listeners of the show, who put that together and sent it to me. And that's Scooter singing and Alex Sky doing all of the music and backing stuff. So they've created that jingle themselves, and it has become a mainstay on the show. So fantastic work by both of those guys. Really love that. Does give a very good vibe, and makes you really want to call that number. The next one up is Bat Stories. Now, Bat Stories, if I remember correctly, look, it was made, according to my Mac, it was made on the 28th of August, 2019. So Bat Stories, I believe, we did a segment called Bird Stories on this show for a while, and then it spun off into Bat Stories. And I honestly can't remember where the Bird Stories segment even originated from. But I do remember that Bat Stories was a spin-off of Bird Stories. Admittedly, Bat Stories did not last for very long on the show. I don't think we did it too many times from memory. But let's take a listen to the Bat Stories intro and see what we get there.
Radio Mike's Bat Stories. Ooh, I'm an evil bat. This how bat sound in my mind. Like old Italian grandpa. Oh, I'm a bat. Vampire music. I'm a bat. Very scary. I come in your house, I scare you. Oh, that's alright. I'm one big scary bat.
Okay, so I think that segment was definitely a one-off, so the whole thing was a little bit of a joke, as you can tell by the prolonged intro, and I think that segment only ever ran once. But that was, I like that. I like the vibe of that intro. Obviously went for that Transylvania, Dracula, vampire vibe, and the very kind of, that the music was very like that, and then I was obviously doing, I guess, what I thought / think is a vampire voice, and then just going on and on to make sure everybody knew that this segment was a joke. Don't even remember the content of that segment. If anyone does, write in. Of course, we have next, actually, alphabetically, next. I forgot about this segment because it's so far removed from what we would usually do on the show, but it was the best of JB. That's James Brayshaw, the AFL commentator. Have a listen to the opener. Radio Mike presents...
Look at the cutting board tackling. Look at the cutting boys. They're into it.
The best of James Brayshaw. Yeah, okay, so James Brayshaw is an AFL commentator, and I think this spurred from a viral clip that Jack Post and I did, where we were just talking about how James Brayshaw, the AFL commentator, always kind of just goes, oh, yes! And that's kind of as you heard. Radio Mike presents... That's him there, just kind of making those noises. We should bring that segment back. If anyone gets any good JB, or hears any good JB commentary on the radio or on TV, please send it my way. I'd love to bring back Best of JB. This is a really good little blast from the past for me, to be honest, guys. So I'm really enjoying getting this segment out. Next up, of course, is Bird Stories, the segment that started it all with animal-related segments. Here's the opener to that. I can't even remember this.
Chirp, chirp. It's time for Radio Mike's Bird Stories.
Fuck you. Fuck you so much. Okay, so this was back in the day where every segment on the show ended with me saying fuck you. which was quite funny, but I tried to phase it out because I thought it was immature and like people who didn't get my humor might not. I tried to make the show more accessible so people didn't have to expect to be told fuck you when they listened to the show. Bird Stories was good. I think the highlight of Bird Stories for me was when I'm pretty sure it was Patreon Danny, still one of the most loyal Patreon listeners of the show, told this phenomenal story about how she or her mum accidentally sucked up their pet bird with a vacuum cleaner and obviously killed it because of the force of the vacuum. That was so phenomenal. I will never forget that segment. I'd love to do a highlights package including that segment because that was an amazing story. Danny, if you're listening, huge shout out for that. Next one. Actually, there's one here that says Birder. Is that the same thing? Let me just check if that's the same. No, that's a completely different opener, I just realized. Let me load this up onto the thing. That's a completely different opener. But meanwhile, we do have the Dave and Mike show, of course, a classic of this show. There's two versions, the 8-bit version and the normal. I think this is the normal.
Well, his name is Dave, and his name is Mike. Together they are the Dave and Mike Show. Dave and Mike Show. Together they are the Dave and Mike Show.
Great segment where obviously my cousin, it all spurred my cousin Dave. When I was 20, I asked him to do a podcast with me and he flat out refused. He laughed in my face. So I just started cold calling him on the show, playing that opener and making him do a fake show with me on this podcast. Peaked kind of in the 2020 season of this podcast. Would love to do a Dave and Mike show soon. Haven't done one in a while. We do definitely have to get Dave back on the show. And that whole opener was written and composed and produced by Jack Post. And that's obviously him singing. And then Patreon Alex Sky, who we mentioned earlier, ended up creating the 8-bit version. I really like that. It's very, it feels like it could be like a Sonic the Hedgehog kind of level. But yeah, love the Dave and Mike show. We will bring it back. So this one was labeled Birder. This is, I forgot we ever did this.
How to get away with Birder.
I think, okay, first of all, that instrumental that's playing is the Mad Monster Mansion theme from Banjo-Kazooie, the game. I just realized I've just ripped that. Secondly, I think I remember why we did this actually, because going back to that story of of Danny's about vacuuming up the bird, everyone's stories that were sending in for bird stories just tended to be stories where they accidentally killed their pet birds. And so that's why we changed it to How to Get Away with Birder, because most people were just talking about killing their pet birds by mistake, which is obviously awful and we do not condone it. The next opener is simply labelled, and there's lots here, we might have to do 2 parts of this. It's simply labelled Disappointment Judman.
Disappointment Judman. Disappointment Judman.
Now, if you're a long-time listener of the show, and I mean long time, Disappointment Judman was a listener of the show who has gone down in infamy because I was trying to call him for a segment we used to do, and he just never picked up the phone despite me organising with it. So I dubbed him Disappointment Judman, and he became infamous on the show. Actually bumped into Disappointment Judman during the comedy festival here in Australia. He's looking good. He seems to be going really well, and I still said, you're a disappointment to me, but I hope you're doing okay. So yeah, it was really, that was a fun era of the show in the very early days of season 1. Next one this was a failed segment, to be honest. I'll be honest about that. Failed segment. I'll just play it. I doubt anyone will even remember it. Okay. So I think I can't remember what this was. I think I was trying to create like a bad superhero team. That's right. And I created a superhero called Sergeant Scissors. Obviously, which is obviously stupid. And then I was asking you guys to send them in. And then I was going to get them professionally illustrated and have like a professional comic book style of all the superheroes we created. Someone sent in like Bubble Boy or something like that. That was actually pretty good. Maybe we bring that segment back. That was a bit of fun. That would have been fun to see the end result. We might come back to that. Now, spin-off podcast, Harry Potter and the Boys, actually originated on 20th Century Boy back in the day. And it had its own opener on the show. This one is really interesting. I don't remember what this is really, but this is what Harry Potter and the Boys would be introduced with.
Harry Potter and the Boys, a live reading by Radio Mike.
You're a wizard, Harry.
I'm a what?
Yeah, okay, I remember that. So that segment, that was me, obviously narrating that at the start. Harry Potter and the Boys, a live read. I would love to get different people doing segment openers, but usually it's just me literally going Radio Mike's Rhyme Crime or whatever it is. I'd love to get like actual people, other people who can do voiceovers doing that. And then that was mixed by Mitch Hopkinson, who used to work at the radio station with me and listened to the podcast and liked it. He mixed that and put some of those little effects in it to make it sound a bit better. So that was a really good one. The next one, I don't think we ever actually did this next segment on the show. I think it was a suggested segment. But I apparently created an opener for it, which I'm about to play, but I don't even remember. Like, I doubt anyone will remember this. So this was, I think it was just called High School Stories, where I encouraged people who went to high school with me to write in funny stories they remember of our school. No one did it. Never got anyone, which implies no one from my school listens to this show. But here's the opener.
Stupid shit that happened at my high school.
That's a pretty I like that opener because it's obviously, it uses, school bell at the top. Great, fits the theme. See, a lot of thought goes into these, and then School's Out by Alice Cooper playing in the background as the instrumental opener to that segment. Never took off, but invite stands. If you did go to high school with me and there's a funny story you remember, definitely feel free to submit one. Then this was a peak COVID. This was a peak COVID segment. Just checking in. Which was during the original lockdowns, where like pretty much everywhere was in lockdowns, I was calling various listeners of the show just to check in. Got some great moments out of this segment. Would be a good one to bring back. I mean, we're not in lockdown anymore, so people don't really need checking in on. But if you do need checking in on, I'll give you a buzz. Just checking in. Here was the opener. It was great.
I'm checking in. He's checking in. I'm checking in. Checking in. No.
Oh, yeah, cool. So that is from... just checking in is from The Simpsons. That whole audio is just ripped from The Simpsons. And then I've just got... which was just like, I guess, like a fun instrumental to have in the segment. I don't know why I chose that specifically. But yeah, that's a fun segment. That was a fun segment that I enjoyed. After that, this was a classic on the show for a long time. And I'd love to bring this one back at some points, because this was a fantastic segment. And I think anyone who's anyone would agree, to be honest. Because this segment was called Lost in Translation. We've got to bring some of these back. Let me know which ones you'd want me to bring back. This is a classic segment. Lost in Translation, of course, was a segment in which I really want to do this again. I might bring this back. I would put a song lyric into Google Translate, and then I would translate it from English to another language, and then just keep translating it to other languages. And then after like 20 languages, I would translate it back to English, and then I would read those words out, and or like Google would read those words out for the show, and then you guys would have to guess what the song was that was lost in translation, as the title suggested. So this one goes like this.
Lost in translation. Lost in translation.
Good opener. Has the like Japanese kind of sounding romanized lost in translation, and then the lost in translation by Google, and then the don't know why I chose that song. Just thought it was a fun vibe to go with the segment, I suppose. So, that was a bit of fun. I enjoyed that a fair bit. I would love to bring that segment back. It was definitely a fan favorite segment, so I think you guys really enjoyed it for at least for a bit. So, it got like we did it for a while, but I think it's good to bring segments back after a little while. Like we just brought a rhyme crime back in the most recent episode. So yeah, I think that would be a good one to bring back. This is a fun little walk down memory lane that kind of shows how much shit we've done on the show over the years. Okay, this is one I think we only did once, and it kind of spun off into its own thing. Now, obviously, and we will get to it, but you will obviously know and remember fondly Radio Nacho Cheese, the best friend of the show. Still is, by the way, and Radio Nacho Cheese actually did send a voicemail into the show for the first time a few weeks ago. So I will absolutely play that very, very soon. But he also, after he was doing a weekly update, that became a monthly update. And then he wanted to do something different. He wanted to do Nacho Cheese's Little Lectures. So we did end up starting this segment.
Listen up, it's Radio Nacho Cheese's Little Lectures.
Okay, and the theme for Radio Nacho Cheese was always, why can't we be friends? And that's because, like, everyone wants to be friends with Radio Nacho Cheese because he's a legend. And that was Pat actually doing the voiceover for that. Now, he did do a little lecture from that, and then we thought he died for a while because the little lecture was, that's right, it was about a haunted mansion that he was going to. And he said, I'm going to this haunted mansion. And then he disappeared. We just didn't hear him again. Or this haunted pub or something. Didn't hear from him for like 6 months. We assumed he was eaten by the ghosts or something. And, we didn't hear from him. Thankfully, he was fine. And, Nacho Cheese was all good. Totally fine. But yeah, that we didn't end up doing another little lecture. Now, funnily enough, Nacho Cheese did say at the end of last year that he had something big planned for the end of the podcast. It never came. Never came. And he is anonymous. We don't know his true identity. We might never know. And that's completely fine by me, as long as he continues to be the best friend. He doesn't have to contribute every week, but it was nice to know he was still listening, because I hadn't heard from him for a while. Of course, this segment I'll never forget.
If I want to go on a hike, there's only one person that I trust to give me all the tips, tricks, and information I need. And that's Radio Mike. So if you're new to hiking, a hiking pro, or just plain interested, you're in the right place. This is Mike's Hikes.
That is a great segment opener for multiple reasons. So there's a few things going on here. One, okay, that's an interesting one. That's the voiceover artist there is Belle Jackson, who is she's actually a producer on Ben and Liam, the Nova breakfast radio show in Adelaide, who were once Triple J hosts. Both great guys. Belle was their producer at Triple J and then went over to Nova with them when she went to Nova. And she used to work at the radio station I worked at. We briefly dated, and she recorded that for me, the Mike's Hikes opener. In the song instrumental there is I Love to Boogie by T-Rex. I like to use a lot of T-Rex songs. If you are on the Patreon bonus podcast, The Overflow, uses Jeepster by T-Rex as the opener. Of course, 20th Century Boy is a T-Rex song as well. And Mike Talks, the spin-off of 20th Century Boy where I interviewed people, also used... that also used a T-Rex song in the openers. I think it was... I can't even remember now, but it was a T-Rex song. Now, the reason I really like the band T-Rex, they're awesome, so I try to use their music a lot. Go and listen to their album Electric Warrior. It is one of the best albums ever. It is so good. But yeah, so it's I Like to Boogie there, but I've added in the Mike's Hikes. That's all me. I made that up. It's not in the original song. I just did it. Thought it was funny. Now, that segment was when I went on Luke and Lewis, because originally on Luke and Lewis, I did a segment called Mike's Likes, and then I came back and did Mike's Hikes, and that was the segment opener for that. So that was very, very fun. This one, I don't think we did for very long because it kind of solidified itself, but this was a fun little segment as well.
It's Mike's monthly reaction pick.
I don't know what that musical bed is. I think it's just like generic, cool hip-hop background music. That was because for a while... Oh, that's right. It all emerged because I was sending pictures of Shaggy from Scooby-Doo to people via text, just to be like, okay, like to acknowledge something. And then from there, me and Pat started sending pictures of Crab, the character from Harry Potter who's friends with Draco Malfoy. That became our like acknowledgement message, like our thumbs up emoji. And then we just started saying Crab, and then I was encouraging everyone to use the same monthly reaction pick, and we were going to change it every month. But Crab just kind of stuck. But we don't really do it anymore. Maybe we might bring that one back eventually. You never know. Everything's got its place. This next one I do remember well. I really liked this segment. It was basically when I found out that there are some numbers that have never been said before in the history of the universe. And I was basically just saying to people, call up the show and name your number. Like, just claim a number that's never been said before. Because, there must be heaps of them because numbers are infinite, right? So the opener to that was...
Name your number!
And of course, this bed, that's one is the loneliest number. Obviously fits because it's name your number. One is the loneliest number that you'll ever do. So I really like that. Really good song, by the way. And thought it had a good vibe. And I like that if you listen to it again...
Name your number!
Did you notice that me going, name your number, is perfectly in beat with the do, 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 name your number. Really like that. Really clever of me, and I am a clever guy, to be honest. Okay. This is everyone will remember this.
Nug 100.
Nug 100, of course, was the build up to me. What's the background to this? That's just generic royalty-free fun music, I guess. Nug 100 was when I tried to eat 100 nuggets in one. See, this is a good little bonus pod because you get an idea of the kind of stupid shit we've done on this podcast historically. Yeah, I really liked Nug 100. Obviously, I ended up eating 54. Couldn't get the whole hundy in my mouth, but, you live on. This next one, absolutely one of my favorites. Absolutely love this segment. If you don't remember this one, we should bring this back. Because actually it's a pretty dumb segment. I don't think it was very relatable, but I did it. It's this one. Only long-time listeners will remember this segment, I think.
Pokemon Australia edition. Mike creates Pokemon that can only be in Australia. Coming soon to your Nintendo DS. Also, fuck you.
So this is a clever one. For some reason, I'm doing like some weird South Park Australian voice. And the idea was, we were going to create Pokemon as a podcast of Pokemon who could only live in Australia. We created a bunch of Pokemon. Guests would come on and help me create Pokemon. That was fun. And includes the trademark also fuck you at the end of the segment. And as well as that, it has an 8-bit rendition of Land Down Under by Men at Work, which is the classic, we come from a land down under. Good song. Really enjoy that. Very creative. This one of my favorite segments we've ever done. I'm saying that about a lot. This was great. It was when I became obsessed with the Muppets, and we started this segment.
Pondering like Kermit.
Hey ho, Kermit the Frog here.
Really beautiful piano rendition of Rainbow Connection there. And the purpose behind this segment was that, there's the famous song Rainbow Connection by the Muppets, or by Kermit the Frog, I guess. And Rainbow Connection starts with simply Kermit the Frog pondering something. He just goes, why are there so many songs about rainbows? And what's on the other side? So I got you guys to start calling in the show and just ponder like Kermit. That was the conceit of the segment.
Pondering like Kermit.
Hey ho, Kermit the Frog here.
So you could call up the show and be like, I'll just think of one really, really, really quickly. Why are there so many coffee shops in Melbourne? That's a pondering like Kermit. And you guys could ring up, ponder like Kermit, and then as a show, we would ponder like Kermit, as the title suggests. That was a very fun segment. We should bring that back for a bit. Feel free always to send in your pondering like Kermits, by the way. This one was a one-off segment that I guess I just thought was funny on episode 5 of the podcast when Jack Post came on as a guest. And a really dumb segment. That was just a stupid play on words, because no one will remember this. It didn't really leave a mark, but this segment was called...
This is Post on Post, where radio heavyweight Jack Post makes comments about Australia Post.
I think I just thought it was funny. Like, the idea of Post on Post was like a funny gag to me, so I did that. And I've said I cringe at pretty much everything I've ever done on the first season of the podcast I hate, and there's more coming up that I hate. But Post on Post, that actually is kind of clever. It wasn't a good segment, but yeah, that was a bit of fun. Can't remember how Jack handled that. Next up, and this is possibly one of the things that makes me cringe most about season 1, but I'll just play it anyway. The radio choir opener. Let's play it.
Radio.
That is so fucking cringy, because obviously, you know, that's me singing all of that, and I've made a beautiful harmony-filled choir song, and I can't even remember what the point of this segment was, but that was so beautiful, but it makes me cringe so hard that people listen to that. I hate it. And then we never did it again. You know, church music. But yeah, I will never ever. That makes me cringe so much that I ever did that segment. I don't like that. Of course, then I mentioned him before, but then we had Radio Nacho Cheese's weekly update.
Yeah, g'day everyone, it's Radio Nacho Cheese here. G'day Radio Mike, it's Radio Nacho Cheese here again. Radio Nacho Cheese here again. Radio Nacho Cheese here.
He's Radio Nacho Cheese, and this is his weekly update.
Again, why can't we be friends? And a great segment. Hearing that just reminds me of how positive a force Dr. Cheese was on the show, because he had many names, as you can remember. Yeah, well, if you remember, you know, Dr. Cheese, Professor Cheese, Sergeant Cheese, Dr. Nach, Dr. Cheddar, I think, at one point, which is a different kind of cheese to nacho cheese, but you know. Yeah, that I loved hearing that. That was a great segment. Nacho, please write into the show. I miss you very much. Of course, for a while, you could win the chance to become one of these. Radio Superstar! I don't know what... I cringe so hard at that as well. I can't believe I did this shit. This stupid shit. People seem to really like season 1. I hate it. But that was supposed to sound like the intro to The Voice, or to Australian Idol or The Voice. I tried to copy it. That's cool, I guess. It's pretty lame. This is why I cringe at season 1. I'm like, what were you doing? What were these dumb ideas? People say it has a charm. I disagree. We then have had this segment. This was a great segment. Red Carpet Catastrophe.
20th Century Boys Red Carpet Catastrophe!
I love that because there's a few things going on there. One, I get to put my announcer voice on, you know, 20th, like that. Good narration by me. And then, because the whole purpose of that segment was talking about movies that everyone thought were really bad, but you really liked. And I think it's really good because it's like that build up, like that red carpet build up, and then it goes and it like falls, and that kind of went hand in hand with the segment because it's like, this is a bad movie, but you really like it. Like the is like the bad movie aspect. I think that's really clever. That's a very creative opener. This one, can't even remember this. Well, I remember the segment. I don't know what the opener is. It just says reporter mic opener. Let's just play it.
Breaking news, entertainment reporting, and investigative journalism. I am Reporter Mike with all your podcast news solutions.
Okay, so Reporter Mike was a character on the show. Again, cringing so hard at that. That sucks so much. Reporter Mike, that's his opener, I guess, whenever he comes on the show. Whatever. Cool, mate. Funnily enough, I just realized that sound effect, I can pick it straight away. That's that, because I often put on, you probably notice, or maybe you don't, often at the top of intros to segments, there's like a little, I just call them a little sting, where it's like, it's like some sound like that just kind of catches your attention. Like that's the one for Red Carpet Catastrophe. But then the one that we just heard for Reporter Mike, that. I just realized, and this is the next one on the list, it's the exact same one as Rhyme Crime.
Radio Mike's Rhyme Crime.
Here's the I'll play them again. This is the Reporter Mike. That's Rhyme Crime. I've just used the same sound effect, probably without realizing it. But Rhyme Crime is also the next one alphabetically, funnily enough. Classic segment.
Radio Mike's Rhyme Crime.
Actually remember building this. Good little authoritative voiceover. And then the bed track is Not Gonna Get Us by Tattoo, which is a good song because like not gonna get us, like they're not gonna catch us in our rhyme crimes. And then I added helicopter sounds and sirens as well. There's a lot, guys. There is so much thought that goes into these openers, honestly. We then have this only happened twice: romantic or needy.
Romantic or needy?
Okay, and that's like the typical sexy royalty-free music, and that's Belle Jackson again doing that. Don't remember her doing that. I don't even think she lived in Melbourne. I must have made her do it from Adelaide or something. But anyway, so she did that, and that was when my friend Tim was dating. His friend was dating a girl, and he thought that his friend was being super needy, but the friend thought he was being really romantic. Good segment. Should bring that back. If anyone's got one, send it in. And then this one I don't remember.
Roses are red, violets are blue. Send in a poem written by you.
Okay, yeah. That's this whole segment. What's the backing track? It's London Bridge is falling down. What the fuck? I don't know why it's that. This whole segment was because I saw a meme on like Instagram that was roses are red, I fell into a ditch. Professor McGonagall, you wrinkly bitch. And I just thought it was so funny that I wanted to make a whole podcast segment about it, apparently. So that's that segment that we did on the show. Okay, I remember this segment. We only did it a few times, but I thought it was hilarious. I don't know if people found this segment as hilarious as I did, but it was during lockdown, and it was called Scissors, Paper, Rock Honesty Edition, where I would play Scissors, Paper, Rock with people on the phone, and then, but you just have to be honest, because it was an audio call, not a video call. Here's the opener. It's Scissors, Paper, Rock Honesty Edition! Okay. And the instrumental to that is, oh my God, that's clever. I didn't even pick that up. It's the song Don't Lie by the Black Eyed Peas, and it's Scissors, Paper, Rock Honesty Edition. See, that's clever. I didn't even pick that up. That's very clever, Mike. A lot of the openers are just me being like, it's this. Then, okay, that was a fun segment. We should play that again. That was very fun. Then we have this, which fizzled out, but I loved this.
Hey, 20th Century Boy presents $6 billion Secret Sound Giveaway. Brought to you by our sponsors, Fuck You. The best in the business at Fuck You. We want you to be. Don't worry, you're never going to guess it anyway because we've deliberately made it too ambiguous.
Okay, that is genius. That is so good. That's my favorite of the bunch because that whole opener is me trying to make fun of like Fox FM doing secret sound competitions. I forgot everything about that. I forgot. I absolutely love brought to you by our sponsors, Fuck You, the best in the business at Fuck You. And then I made that. There's all the integrations with Taylor Swift. That was very good. I think you guys would appreciate that. I think you guys do appreciate that. That's great. We should bring that segment back as well. That's really good. And then, yeah, it's Taylor Swift. Hey, hey, hey. And that is Eliza, who works on Hamish and Andy with us. That must have been many, many years ago. Well, the date is here, 4th of July, 2019. No, it must have been... Did this podcast start in 2019? I don't know. But that was Eliza. I remember her doing that, actually. And she's like such a nice person who would never swear. And I'm like, just say, brought to you by our sponsors, fuck you. She's like, I don't want to say that. I'm like, please just say it. That was great. I love that. I guess this one, I don't even remember this, but this must be a follow-up of the whole Bird Stories, Bat Stories, because this one's just called Spider Stories.
Spider Stories from the radio family.
Okay, that's interesting. No real creative decisions in that. It's just literally spider stories from the radio family, I suppose. Nothing too exciting there. That just is what it is. I don't remember ever doing it. Did that make the show? Does anyone remember that actually making the show? Let me know. Following up, we did this one for a while, which was, I'll just play it.
from the Dream Factory.
This is where I think people would just ring up and tell their dreams. Just a stupid segment, Tales from the Dream Factory, where I started, I think it was when I was with my girlfriend. I can't remember where it came from. I think it was when I was with my girlfriend last year, Matty. And I just kept, just purely because I always have to be an idiot in every scenario, I just kept referring to going to sleep as the Dream Factory. We're going to the Dream Factory. And she was like, stop calling it the Dream Factory. And I was like, no, it's too funny. And then I just said, guys, ring up and tell your tales from the Dream Factory. These are good. There's only a few more. We'll finish it up. We'll just smash through this. There are a couple. Okay, this is probably the most played one on the show. Because I mean, this is just a classic on every show.
The plug.
Now, funnily enough, this is on Rove McManus's old show, Rove Live. He used to, when a guest came on, like a musician came on, he would do the plug. Like, he'd be like, it's time for the plug. And then he'd plug the CD or the movie or whatever the person was plugging. And I was like, oh, I need something in the show where I can just, at the end of the show, I just wrap up and plug everything that I want to plug. And I just thought I'd make a little snappy intro. Needed to be snazzy, quick, cool, and I think it's nailed all of that. And then, yeah, I really enjoy that opener. I think that's very good. That's I hope you guys like it too. Put a lot of effort in to try and make it cool and flow really well. This is an old segment that has come back once or twice, and I think it should come back at some point again. It's this one.
This is the shittest thing I've seen all week, featuring me, Radio Mike, the guy from the podcast. Also, fuck you.
And I think so that's obvious. That was the shittest thing. And the song in the background is, of course, The Sweetest Thing by U2. And I think I overdubbed it going, oh, the shittest thing, which is pretty funny. I actually think that's very clever. I don't mind this segment. I'd love to bring this segment back because it was really good. This one didn't last long, but it was a variation on Lost in Translation. It was called this.
Tap, tap, it's the tapping game. Tappity tap.
Tappity tap. This one was cool. It didn't last too long, but it was where I would tap out a song, like on my legs. Like, that's simply the best. You're simply the best. And you guys would have to guess it. I think it was just really hard. So no one ever got them. And then I just stopped because everyone was like, we can't get them. They're too hard. Last couple here. And then I'll do a little bonus one for you guys as well. There's a cheeky bonus one. We also had, this was a classic segment and we still need to bring it back in some form. This was where you'd sing a movie. So there's this movie that I think you like. This guy goes to a magical school and learns to be a wizard. Based on the Vance Joy song Riptide, in which he describes the film Midnight City through that method. And it took me ages to figure out what the song was. Still want to get Vance Joy on the show to do one of those. And I think it's within our reach. I know Andy from Hamish and Andy is really good friends with Vance. So if I ever need a favor, I might try and bring that one in. Okay. Of course, then there's this. This is also probably the most heard sound effect on the show, the Welcome to the Radio Family cheer, it's labelled as. Just wanted to have some trigger every time I mention someone's name on the show and be like, welcome to the Radio Family. And I really like it. I think it really sets us apart. Of course, then, this is a classic segment. We have You Gotta Be Shitting Me of the week from season 1.
You gotta be shitting me.
You gotta be shitting me. You gotta be shitting me. You have got to be shitting me. This is You Gotta Be Shitting Me of the week. Now with 100% less Peter Mike. So fuck you.
Yeah, great. And that is Original Prankster by The Offspring in the background. That's a good opener. That's a good segment we should try and bring back at some point as well. Now, little bonus, that's all of them. That's as far as I can see on here. Well, I mean, there will be a few more on this computer. Songs You Forgot Existed is there. But you know, those are more recent. I kind of wanted to go through for a more trip down memory lane. Oh, there's Lord of the Rings update. That one's pretty funny. Let's play Lord of the Rings update before we wrap up. Let's just get that. It's going to take too long to get onto the thing. I'll just, you guys remember that one. But here's where it all starts. Back in my radio show on Sin FM in 2016, 6 years ago, the Yellow Family, The Simpsons review show, if you guys remember. Well, no one really remembers because no one really listened to it. But me and my best friend from school, Tom, used to do a show. T-Money, who's been on the show, who started the You Gotta Be Shitting Me thing. We did a show called The Yellow Family on Sin. It was we would review a Simpsons episode every time, and there were a bunch of openers to that show for segments that maybe I'll do another one of these with all the openers, and maybe I should review that show. But yeah, this is the opening to the radio show The Yellow Family that I did back on Sin as a little bit of a bonus. Let's check it out.
Idly-ho, neighborinos.
Pull up a hammock from the hammock district.
Oh, hang on. Pause. Okay, that is not the opener to The Yellow Family. Okay, what that is, that I forgot this existed. See, you've got an exclusive here, guys. In like 2018, Tom, my friend from Sin that I did that show with, and I were like, let's do The Yellow Family again, just as a podcast every week. We'll just review an episode. And then I got a professionally made intro with Belle Jackson again on the voiceover, and I got a production guy at work to mix it. This is that. So this never saw the light of day anywhere. This has never aired before. This is what it would have sounded like if that, because obviously we never ended up doing The Yellow Family again. It lay dormant. But we got artwork made for it and everything. But yeah, take a listen. This is what it would have sounded like if that podcast did go ahead.
Idly-ho, neighborinos.
Pull up a hammock from the hammock district.
Or the hammock district.
Grab yourself a duff and steam up some hams.
You steam a good ham.
Because it's time for The Yellow Family with Radio Mike and Tom Craggs.
Ay, caramba!
Wow, I forgot this existed. That's a really cool way to end it. I'll dig up a bunch of other... I should do some bonus content around my old radio show at some point, because I would love to revisit it and cringe at how bad it was. But, yeah, I'll leave it there. This was a fun little bonus to do. I just thought, on a whim, I thought I'd do this. This was a bunch of fun. Hope you guys enjoyed. I'll do some more bonus content soon. Love ya. This episode of 20th Century Boy was brought to you by Radio Mike on Patreon. If you just finished the podcast and want to hear me talk even more, head to patreon.com/Radio Mike to get access to the TCB Overflow podcast, an extra podcast every week, and the Pat and Mike Show, where me and producer Pat talk behind the scenes of making this show. The Patreon is overflowing with content. We'll see you there. This podcast was a Radio Mike original production. Head to radiomike.com.au to check out all our other content, stay up to date at radio.mike on Instagram, and get in touch, radiomikepod@gmail.com.